Si alguna vez has sentido miedo o vergüenza al hablar otro idioma, este video es para ti. Este video es muy especial para mí. Hace poco mi amiga Jenny me escribió para decirme que iba a estar por aquí en la provincia y aceptó grabar algunos videos conmigo para el canal. En el video anterior pueden ver un pequeño vlog desde que la recogí en el aeropuerto, fuimos a un restaurante francés y luego llegamos al Airbnb donde grabamos esta entrevista. Jenny habla francés y español y aquí nos cuenta cómo empezó ese camino, los miedos que tuvo al hablar y cómo los superó, incluyendo una historia divertida que vivimos juntas en México.
Activa los subtítulos si los necesitas.
This is Jenny. She's a great friend. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Jennifer. Kim is one of the only people who has the privilege of calling me Janita or Jenny.
Yes, it's a privilege. Not everybody gets to do that. So, Jenny, you're a native English speaker.
Yes, I am.
What do you think about people learning English?
I think it's great. I appreciate anyone's efforts to take on English as an acquired language, for sure.
And you also speak 2 different languages.
Yes, I do. Although today, because I'm tired, not as comfortable speaking French for this interview or Spanish, but those are the other 2 languages that I speak.
Yes. I think it's very typical of anyone who's speaking a second language. When you're tired, you revert to what's comfortable. And I think that's totally normal. So remember that in your learning process.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for understanding.
Oh. And how is it that you speak Spanish and French?
Well, I started learning French in school. It was part of school. I started when I was 6. I was in grade 1. And then I loved it. I found that language, that was the subject that I enjoyed the most, and I felt like I was the best at was French. So I wanted to continue. And so I carried on with that for all of high school, well, all of elementary, all of high school, and then into university. And as far as Spanish goes, I had the opportunity to start taking Spanish in high school. And because I was fairly strong in French, Spanish was actually quite easy to pick up. And I really loved Spanish too. I still do.
Awesome. So what did you find was most difficult in your language learning?
Oh boy. For me, it was the getting through that barrier of being comfortable and being self-conscious, right, about speaking in either French or Spanish. I was very strong in grammar, in writing, and comprehension, but it was the speaking that I wasn't as comfortable with because I was worried, what would I look like? What would someone who is a native speaker think?
Judgment.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that held me back a little bit until I went away and studied abroad in Mexico first for Spanish and then in France for French. And that really helped me overcome that fear of being judged. I was living with a host family in Mexico, and on a daily basis, if I had been hesitant to speak to them, I would have had a very difficult time getting across my needs and learning from them as well, and them learning about me and us developing that relationship.
What's one experience you can share about living abroad or learning a language?
There's one story, Kim, that involves you as well, that from our time in Mexico that I always remember. Was it going back home for Christmas? And we needed to pre-order bus tickets. So it was about a 3-hour journey to get to the Mexico City airport from where we were living. And there was a shuttle bus, but we needed to call this company that ran the shuttle bus to ask them some questions. So Kim and I sat down ahead of time and literally wrote down like little dialogue of our questions, and this is help us through the conversation. So that's just something that I always remember about our time there, because we were, again, sort of worried, right, about would we freeze up and not be able to get these questions out and be able to get the information that we needed to be able to get to the airport.
I remember this because you said, okay, we're going to write it out. We're going to come to your house at a certain time and we're going to call them and we're going to ask if anyone speaks English. And so you came over at the appointed time. It was calling La Línea Primera Plus, in fact, right?
Yes.
Because it went directly to the airport. I remember people who were taking our phone call, but they were trying to help us. ¿Está alguien que habla inglés? And they were really trying to look for someone. And we were in the process of doing so. We got the tickets booked. No one spoke English.
We were successful. And it's funny because forward to a few months later, when I was needing to go home, I was at the end of my time in Mexico, and I went to the bus station or wherever with my host family to get my ticket, and completed the whole transaction on my own, with someone face to face. And I remember they looked at my host family and said, wow, speaks like we do, but she Mexican? Because I don't think she is. And they were like, nope, she's our Canadian student or whatever. So several months made a lot of progress, right? And we went from to write out a dialogue and if someone spoke English to being able to actually it on my own with confidence, right? So
here's the anecdote. You go in just doing your best, and then after a lot of struggle and many attempts, you come out oh, this is normal. It's easy. And you just go in and order something. Yeah.
Again, you have to get over that fear, right?
Yeah.
And not easy to do, but it's worth it.
What's your number one tip then for language learners?
I'm trying to think of one, Kim.
I have another exchange student who went to France. This is Cheryl.
My name is Cheryl, and I spent time with Jen in France. And so my tip would be to bring a notebook with you and write down any words that you aren't familiar with so you can look them up later. And then that increases your vocabulary.
That's a good one.
Yes, excellent. Thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
You have anything else to add?
I just encourage anyone who's watching to keep at it and persevere. And
Excellent. So with that, I thank you so much for coming on. I had so much fun. Gracias.
Oh.
Gracias por acompañarnos en esta primera parte de la entrevista. No es un video perfecto, pero es una conversación real entre amigas sobre aprender idiomas y no rendirse. En la segunda parte tenemos una mini entrevista rápida, rapid fire, con preguntas divertidas sobre idiomas, la vida y más. Hasta la próxima. Adiós.